Flexing that ankle.
Oh, Lee, this late in the game, you do not want to see.
Caitlin Clark is down again. Fans aren't just worried, they're furious because this isn't some routine bump or bruise. It's her second serious setback of the season, one that could shelve her for weeks.
Stephanie White has now got questions to answer.
What really has everyone mad? The injury felt completely avoidable, a slow-motion train wreck that never should have happened.
Boston hands it off as Clark's back in. She goes down. And mid-court and flexing that ankle.
Oh, Lee, this late in the game, you do not want to see.
It happened in garbage time, up 8-12 on the clock, yet there was Caitlin crumpled near mid-court, clutching the same left leg she's babied all season. Cameras caught the wince. Social feeds lit up before she'd even reached the tunnel. Within hours, resale sites slashed Friday's Fever Wings get-in price from $190 to $115, a 40% free fall. If the first quad strain cost the WNBA half its audience, this sequel threatens to bankrupt the hype entirely. Viewership cratered more than 50% during Clark's May absence, proof in cold numbers that the league's oxygen mask sits on one rookie's bruised leg.
You want to see the Caitlin Clark
exaggeration.
effect? This is it right here. This is it. Look at this, folks.
So the question isn't just how soon she'll return. It's whether the WNBA, the Fever, and even Clark herself are sleepwalking toward a catastrophe that could rewind a decade of momentum in one bad pivot. Because the next decision, to rush, to rest, or to roll the dice again, won't merely decide a game. It could decide the fate of an entire sport. But that's only the first red flag.
With Caitlin, when did you guys find out about this groin injury, and how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment.
Fever fans have heard that before.
How is she doing? Is there any timeline for her return?
Yeah, she's doing well. She's doing well. Again, no timeline. I think it's day-to-day, and for us to just make sure that we're continuing to be supportive.
Fans aren't buying Stephanie White's press conference answers anymore. It seems like Caitlin Clark's season may be mishandled. Caitlin Clark's sophomore campaign has felt less like a celebration and more like a minefield. It started on May 26th when the Fever quietly confirmed a left quad strain expected to shelve her a minimum of 2 weeks. 11 days later, the heavy rap was still there, yet she was rushed back, pouring in 32 against New York while obviously guarding that leg. Since that comeback, the dashboard has flickered red. She's shot 1 for 23 from deep. Her lateral burst looks muted, and she seems completely lost. Then came June 26th, another MRI, a new diagnosis. Left groin injury, day-to-day, according to coach Stephanie White. Fans aren't buying the deja vu pressers. They watched Dana Evans get labeled day-to-day moments before she was quietly shopped.
Like, it's one of two things. It's either it's groin tightness and she'll be back for the Commissioner's Cup game. She's probably going to miss these next 2 games. Or it's a groin strain, she's out for the All-Star game. Like, it's one of those two, and there's no in between.
And they've heard the same non-answers about Clark's responding to treatment. Trust is evaporating fast. The pattern feels obvious. Under-rested leg, overcompensation, next body part pops. It gets worse because the coaching decisions feeding that pattern are even harder to defend.
You guys rushed her back. And within rushing her back, she re-injured that same quad. And then you rushed her back again. And then within rushing her back, she was forced to put pressure and put stress on different areas surrounding that quad. That leads us to our most recent groin injury.
Picture this. The Fever are up 8 in Seattle, and Stephanie White taps Clark's shoulder. One more possession. Moments later, the rookie plants, slips, and grabs that already wrapped thigh. Reporters would later confirm she looked injured. The backlash was instant.
Caitlin Clark clearly not looking like herself. The Indiana Fever has the game put away, yet we still put her back in the game at 45 seconds left. Caitlin Clark dealing with an injury, not looking like herself. The game is already out of hand, yet we still put her back in with 45 seconds left. How much patience do I need to have before I can start going nuclear? Because I am getting very frustrated with what I am seeing.
Social clips of the meaningless re-entry flooded X, and hashtags like Fire Stephanie trended in Indianapolis before the team bus even left the arena. White tried to douse the flames in her post-game presser, admitting, "That one's on me. I wanted to help her break out of a slump." Yet, the admitting to the fault only poured gasoline on fans who already felt burned by May's quad fiasco. The same coach had vowed no rushing back before rushing her back.
But I think we're getting into territory now where it is not, I don't think it's a good idea to just chance it. I don't think it's a good idea to put pressure on yourself to perform when obviously these are all left leg. These are all in the same leg area. So there's definitely something going on around there.
Critics aren't just pointing at one questionable sub. They're mapping a pattern. 38-minute nights straight off the injured list, no minute cap in back-to-backs, and a public mantra of "she's day-to-day" that echoes like, "we don't know what we are doing." Each decision feels less like trust in Clark's toughness, and more like a gamble that the goose keeps laying golden eggs. And if the next roll comes up snake eyes, the WNBA's jackpot walks out on crutches.
I mean this when I say this. Fire Stephanie White yesterday.
Because the refs have quietly become co-conspirators in the risk that's snowballing around Clark, opposing coaches aren't shy about the blueprint anymore. Bump her early, stay in her jersey for 40 minutes, and dare the refs to keep blowing that whistle.
One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think everybody would like to see a tighter whistle and a little bit more freedom of movement. Yeah.
One sideline boss flat out told reporters, "We know she doesn't like physicality. The challenge is executing that game plan for 40 straight." A strategy now echoed across pre-game walkthroughs. And it's working. Not because Clark shrinks from contact, but because whistles rarely come.
And like, they just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't keep calling. They can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical. You just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them to be hacked.
Since mid-June, broadcasts have captured everything from hip checks to outright grabs that would trigger flagrant calls in the NBA.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and JC Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Coaches now admit the physical tone isn't limited to defending Clark, it's league-wide. The Fever's rookie just absorbs the spotlight because every shove lands on the sport's most valuable billboard. And with referees swallowing the whistle, the burden shifts to Indiana's staff to yank her before another cheap shot turns a strain into season-ending surgery. But that rough-and-tumble approach is only half the danger because the numbers on the scoreboard aren't the scariest stats.
There's something going on. Is it the nagging quad injury? But it's something to do with the lower half of her body. It is a groin injury. Now we've got an idea of why she's struggling from long range, where it requires, some real push on three-point shots, especially the kind that she takes. And there's nothing worse than a groin injury. It will nag the shit out of you. Trust me, I've had several.
The real warning lights are hiding inside Clark's own box scores. Strip away the highlight reels and the real story is hiding in the numbers. Before the quad scare, Clark was drilling logo threes at a 37% clip, elite even by NBA standards. Since the June 14th return, she's a jarring one for 23 from deep, the coldest three-game stretch ever recorded by a WNBA guard. Dig deeper and you spot the mechanical glitch. Her takeoff foot used to be the left, generating a smooth rise. Lately, she plants right, almost hopping into the shot, a classic tell of a player shielding a sore leg. Analysts from Skip Bayless to Kelsey Plum have flagged the hitch, calling the slump uncomfortable and hard to watch. Add the muscle math, and it gets dicier. Clark packed on nearly 10 pounds of lower body strength last winter. Great for driving lanes, brutal if your movement patterns lag behind the bulk.
But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. And with women as well, we are more prone to knee injuries even than the men because of the angle that our hips go to our knees. So the last thing you want is her compensating or her groin not firing properly, and she goes to cut to the side and then all of a sudden something blows in her knee. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it. She has such a long career.
Sports med studies show rapid mass gain can spike groin strain risk by 30% in athletes who cut off their outside foot. Sound familiar? Now every close out becomes a coin flip, and the quad groin combo on one side of her frame is the precise recipe that precedes non-contact knee blows in female athletes. Which is why trainers cringe at the shot chart more than the scoreboard. Every off-balance brick is a neon sign flashing compensation. Ignore it, and the next red lamp could be the MRI suite.
And it's also a huge blow to the WNBA. Whether some fans like it or not, it was proven the last time that she was out with injury that the WNBA does better when she is on the court. The WNBA ratings across the league dropped by over 50% when Caitlin Clark was out with injury, and this is obviously such a crucial time and a crucial year for the league because they go into CBA negotiations at the end of the year.
The moment Indiana announced Clark's groin flare-up on June 26th, StubHub's floor price for the Fever Wings showdown in Dallas plunged from $190 to $115, a 40% haircut in under 3 hours. That wasn't an outlier. The very first game she missed in May saw lower bowl seats crash from nearly 400 to single digits overnight. Footage every sports finance blog is still replaying in disbelief. TV executives felt the seismic aftershock. Nielsen data show nationally televised WNBA games hemorrhaging 55% of their audience since Clark limped to the bench on May 24th, with Fever broadcast themselves free-falling from 1.81 million viewers to just 847,000. One league insider told the NY Post the dip translates to millions in lost activation money, just as teams entered delicate CBA negotiations. And here's the kicker.
I need to get in the field.
You need to come to the
I
meetings.
gotta get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't give us, if y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sitting out.
That's a possibility, for real.
Yeah.
Analysts expected Angel Reese, A.J. Wilson, or Paige Buchers buzz to cushion the blow. Yet ratings for non-Fever games slid almost as steeply. But that sudden cash evaporation isn't just a bookkeeping headache. It's CBA dynamite that could reshape every WNBA paycheck for the next decade. When the WNBPA formally triggered its opt-out last October, players believed a summer of record ratings would let them march into December's bargaining table with real leverage. 2 months later, the entire negotiating chessboard revolves around one square: Caitlin Clark's left leg. League execs are already passing around the damning math. National audiences cratered 55% during her first quad injury. If a second, longer hiatus lingers into August, smothering Commissioner's Cup bonuses and an All-Star weekend, owners will point to the revenue hole and say, "This is why we can't raise the salary cap." Clark's own camp knows it. Her agent at Excel Sports called the current $78,000 rookie max laughable, given she's single-handedly jacking franchise valuations. Yet, every day she sits, the league's bargaining chips melt. Yesterday's 40% ticket price freefall in Dallas didn't just cost arena vendors. Economic analysts estimate a $1.2 million swing in local game day spend when Clark is scratched. In short, the fate of an entire labor deal now hinges on whether a groin strain heals cleanly or festers into something surgical. And the medical precedent for toughing it out couldn't be uglier.
About this groin injury and how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment. I stay in my lane and let our
Who gives a shit how she responds to treatment? Keep her out for a week. Keep her out for a week or two. Let's make sure she's healthy. 110%, 150%.
Sports history is littered with cautionary tales, and you don't have to look far for the newest one. Indiana's own Tyrese Halliburton tried muscling through a strained calf in the NBA Finals, only to blow his Achilles in Game 7. Same leg, and now he's staring at a year in rehab.
I just wonder if she's playing through a little more pain than she should. I mean, look what happened to Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA Finals game when he tore his Achilles heel. He had also mentioned having some pain there, and this was like the pinnacle of his career. So he attempted to play through that, and at the very end, he went down.
Medical journals remind us the domino effect is even harsher in the women's game. NBA studies show ACL tears account for 37% of all serious knee injuries, and sideline players an average of 375 days. Clark's pattern checks every box: recurring quad strain, altered stride, and groin flare-up. Doctors call it the kinetic chain. Fans call it Russian roulette. One wrong step on that left leg, and the WNBA's ratings rocket becomes the league's most expensive medical bill. And if the possibility of losing her to surgery sounds catastrophic, wait until you see how fans are already reacting while she merely sits in street clothes. The Internet Court of Public Opinion has reached a unanimous verdict. Somebody has to answer for this. Fire Stephanie White trended in Indianapolis before sunrise the day Clark's groin injury went public. Season ticket holders blasted the franchise for re-injuring its golden goose, while neutral viewers warned the league they'd change the channel if the careless playing continued. And every cheap shot ricochets through the cash register. Bloomberg reported courtside seats in Dallas plunged from nearly $3,700 to the mid-2000s the moment Clark's scratch became official. Upper bowl tickets tanked even harder, settling at barely $100. Multiply that dynamic across an entire month of games, and you understand why this could hurt the WNBA's growing potential. But here's the haunting kicker. Every stakeholder now faces a singular, irreversible choice. Caitlin Clark's left leg isn't just another line on an injury report, it's the blueprint on which the WNBA's next decade now tilts. Rush her back again, and one unlucky play could hand the league its own Halliburton-style tragedy, vaporizing viewership, sponsorship momentum, and the players' CBA leverage in a single heartbeat. Handle the rehab conservatively, limit minutes, enforce whistles, swallow a few short-term rating dips, and Clark likely reemerges as the unstoppable draw who just set attendance records 3 months ago. Because if they don't, if the league's brightest star limps into the tunnel one more time, no amount of marketing spin will drown out the echo of the question every fan will be screaming: did they just lose the game or throw away the sport? Let me know what you think. See you next video.